being in control of everything, of wanting to constantly control the outcome. As a strategist, you want to think about all the possible outcomes, but I realized that having different perspectives from different people offered me that same success without exhausting myself. So bringing other people into the work and not only taught me that I didn't have to do it all myself, but it really strengthened my ability to strategize because I was constantly learning different parts of the organization or the leadership that strengthened my outcome.
Welcome to the True Leadership Podcast, where we sit down with executive leaders to explore what leadership really means through the lens of their stories, their wins, their struggles, their vision, and their lessons along the way. I'm Ty Hammond, founder of One Mountain Leadership and creator of the True Leadership Approach, an awareness-based path that helps leaders shift their focus from what to do about their problems to how to grow from them. Whether you're just stepping into leadership or are well-seasoned and at the top of your game, your potential won't be realized following someone else's script, but you can draw insights from their stories and turn it into wisdom by putting it into practice in your own life.
Welcome to the True Leadership Podcast, where we explore the essence of leadership beyond tactics and performance by sitting down with executives to hear what matters most to them. I'm your host, Jessy James, and today's guest is Courtney Hadden. Courtney is an ESG executive known for turning sustainability strategy into measurable organization-wide action. Currently serving as Sustainability Director for Hitachi Digital and its subsidiaries, she partners closely with executive leadership and cross-functional teams to embed ESG priorities into governance, operations, and culture. Often called the Swiss Army knife of ESG, Courtney specializes in aligning complex organizations around shared sustainability goals and moving companies from commitment to implementation. A frequent speaker and thought leader, she brings practical insight from the implementation trenches, helping leaders activate cross-functional engagement and build responsible business practices that drive long-term impact and accountability. Courtney, it's an absolute pleasure to have you on the podcast today.
Thank you so much, Jessy. I appreciate being here.
Courtney, I'm curious, who is someone from your early life or even an early experience that shaped the kind of leader that you are today?
Sure. So the beginning of my career was within sales and marketing for a nonprofit organization. And as I matured in my career, I was able to look at the connection between sales and marketing and cause. So within that nonprofit environment, I worked for one of the world's leading ballet companies, Boston Ballet, and I reported into the chief marketing officer. And I think that really helped me to look forward in my career because I was able to see how using people's passions can actually drive dollars. And that has been really foundational for the rest of my career.
What does true leadership mean to you? What makes a true leader from your experience?
It's a great question. So I would say that being a true leader means not having all the answers. It's about being curious about both the people and the topics that you are working on and trying to find that mutual benefit between yourself and your partner, whether that's an internal partner or an external partner. It's looking for that connection and listening and actionizing on the things that are important to both parties. And so I think being a true leader is gathering information and making decisions on the best next steps when you feel like you really, have collected answers across the organization, when you've thought of multiple perspectives and brought them forward.
Got it. Can you share about a time when you realized that your way of leading or living no longer met the demands of your work and life and growth was needed?
Yeah, I would say that the turning point in my leadership journey was understanding that just because I had the technical capabilities of a role, it didn't mean that I was a true leader. A true
Mm.
leader, and that moment for me that kind of blossomed into the type of leader that I wanted to be, was in learning the things that I didn't know, honestly. I have a hunger for knowledge and for education, and I'm always curious about different parts of the company. And so I think, at the beginning of my leadership career, I thought I had to, be the one solving all the problems, that made me a good leader if I
Mm.
could identify the issue and be able to solve it myself. And really, what I've learned to grow into is that collaboration, is looking at the various people that I'm leaders with, or I just got back from a conference and spoke with other sustainability leaders at other companies, and just really creating your own style, your own sense of prioritization, your own trust in yourself by continually collecting different nuggets in who you want to be and the type of work you want to do.
I love this idea of collecting different nuggets of who you want to be. And I'm curious, in that entire process, what did you have to outgrow or let go in order to grow beyond it?
I'm still working on it, but I would say perfectionism.
Mm.
I think being in control of everything, of wanting to constantly control the outcome. As a strategist, which came from my marketing years and now continues into my work in ESG, you want to think about all the possible outcomes. But again, to the previous point, I realized that having different perspectives from different people offered me that same success without exhausting myself. So bringing
Mm.
other people into the work and collaborating and learning different perspectives not only taught me that I didn't have to do it all myself, but it really strengthened my ability to strategize, because I was constantly learning different parts of the organization or different styles of leadership that strengthened my outcome.
Thinking about your journey over the past few years, what's been the most valuable investment that you've made in yourself for your own growth?
I think self-awareness. I think, you know, we naturally as leaders are who we are. We, have certain blind spots and certain ego and certain triggers. And just like in personal life, if you aren't aware of those things, they can affect your success. And so the self-awareness piece for me has been not only looking at my personal life and those different aspects, but how they also apply to my work as a leader. And so if there's certain triggers that I have in the work, um, or in my personal life, it's about knowing them and about working with them,
Mm.
not ignoring them, not pushing them down, but recognizing that they're part of who I am, and constantly looking for improvement.
That really resonates with me, Courtney. That we have so many different parts, and to just recognize and acknowledge them and get along with them. So thank you for sharing that nugget. What's your vision for your leadership, your legacy, or the impact that you want to have in the years ahead?
Um, Much like my work, which is about, improving the places where we live and the people that we support, that's what my legacy is. If I can take those people who work for me or work with me and help them feel trust in working with a leader who cares about them, not just as an employee, but as a person, and that they feel that they are supported in growing who they are, if they feel that they are listened to and there's a trust built, then I hope that eventually those people become leaders as well and want the same for their staff. I think it's can be unusual to have a leader that cares about who you are as a person just as much as how good you are at your job. And I I think because of my work, I really deeply care about the people who work for me and with me. I want to know that they are, happy and inspired, and I want them to feel that sense of grace and love, and I want them to spread that. And I hope that that is my legacy, that kindness to my staff and to my colleagues is something that those people continue as they become leaders as well.
So, what are the ways that you feel like you most need to grow personally and sort of to realize that vision of yourself?
I would say probably within my confidence in myself. I think that when you work within ESG, oftentimes the corporate culture can be one that doesn't necessarily value those topics. And whereas for me, I have always been able to correlate them back to making money, to saving money. I think having confidence not only in my work and the importance of my work to the organization is something that I will continue to grow in myself. I think also in this, environment where ESG is a bit unsure right now, it can also create questions for ourselves. I think, having spoken a lot recently with other ESG leaders who are not only questioning their value as an ESG leader, but also the value of their program, I think it comes down to those, to those moments where you really do see change, even if it's little change. And so I think, when I've spoken with, for instance, I run an Earth Alliance ERG at Hitachi Digital, which is about 200 colleagues who have a passion for environmental well-being. And they constantly are saying, well, my little action doesn't make a difference. But when you show them the accumulation of those 200 people's actions, you really see what a huge impact it can make. And so I think as a leader, it's having confidence in what we do, but also bringing people in to the journey and realizing that this work, um, just work in general, is not something that we can accomplish alone. And so tying that, you know, that emotional side to our work, making sure that we feel um, important, not only as people, but in what we do, I think is something that I will continue working on and that I hope to share as a leader.
Courtney, where do you feel most tested right now? Like, what challenges are stretching you the most in leadership and in life?
I think certainly the work, again, given the political changes in the United States around ESG and not having support in environmental betterment or human rights or DEI, it's a really challenging time to be an ESG leader. There's, every day you wake up feeling a little defeated, and it's hard to continue to fight this fight, especially if you've been fighting it for a long time. I recently was on in a conversation again with other ESG leaders, and I think I differ a little bit from some leaders who believe you need to kind of press on and keep going aggressively and keep your team motivated to produce. I believe that in life sometimes we need moments of pause and moments of self-reflection and moments of um, kindness to ourselves. And so for me right now, and when I talk with my staff, I oftentimes share with them that this is actually a really challenging motion. This is a challenging time. It's hard to wake up every day and to fight this fight. And it can be exhausting, and that's okay. I think we don't always have to be pushing. Sometimes we're just as successful when we take a beat and recognize ourselves and recognize our own emotions and take care of ourselves a bit. I think sometimes, you have to rest on the wall to push through it. And so I think for me right now, it's about recognizing that I can't do it all and still being really proud of all I do.
Yeah, Courtney, so beautifully said. I think sometimes we kind of, succumb to the pressure of shoulds and musts and, oh, absolutely, or let's go do it, get it done. And we just forget to stay in touch with us. And like you said, self-awareness, self-kindness, self-care is so key. And that's when we really find the energy and the clarity to move on. So thank you for that. The last question is more of an invitation. You have the time and space here to offer to our listeners whatever you'd like to share straight from your heart. The floor is yours, anything at all.
I think the most important thing is kindness to ourselves and to others. We so often forget that, especially in business, but certainly in times of, trial and fear. And I think kindness is a really important thing in business. Kindness to ourselves, kindness to other people. It's not just about numbers, it's about care. And I think if we all just keep pushing it down, the sadness or the fear or the concern or the exhaustion, then we burn out. And if we burn out, then we can't keep doing the work. And so sometimes there are moments where you need to pause and be kind to yourself or give somebody else the chance to pause and be kind to themselves. And I think that's just as important as a leader as continuing to push. I think there's moments where we keep going and then there's moments where we take a breath. And so that for me is what I hope uh, is happening for people now and leaders can think of a little bit more.
Courtney, I appreciate the wisdom that you shared here with us today. With me, I've taken so much from this conversation, and I'm sure whoever's listening will benefit equally from what you shared. Thank you so much for being on the True Leadership Podcast.
Thank you so much, Jessy.
Most welcome.
That's it for this episode of the True Leadership Podcast. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe to YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this to catch future episodes. This conversation was brought to you by One Mountain Leadership, where we help leaders grow the capacity, confidence, and presence of true leadership through the True Leadership approach. To learn more about the approach, our offerings, our community, and how we can help you realize your potential in both leadership and in life, visit us at onemountainleadership.com.